Good morning, everybody. I'm taking a guess that right now it's 9 a.m. and everybody's getting started exactly at 9 a.m. when this is posting, so good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking at 7.3, mostly talking about triangles. Some of the stuff you might already know, some of the stuff might be things that you know that in the past you've kind of struggled with or have forgotten, so hopefully this doesn't go too bad. Triangles, two things to keep in mind for today. A triangle has three sides and three angles. The three angles will always add up to 180 degrees. If you get something other than 180 degrees, something went wrong with the way that you were solving for your angles in your triangle. So, there are three main types of triangles that we're going to be talking about, and these are them. There's an equilateral triangle, an isosceles triangle, and a scalene triangle. This has to do with the number of angles and sides that are the same measurement. Equilateral triangles, all three sides are the same, all three angles are the same. They'd all be the same numbers. So with an equilateral triangle, the inside angles will always be 60. For the three outsides, let's say that we said that this side was 15 inches. That means that all of these would also be 15 inches. An isosceles triangle, two things are the same. So this is A and this is A because if I made this 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, they'd be the same. These inside angles would also be the same. This angle here and this side here would be a different number than what this is and this is. So it's isosceles for two things. The last one's scalene. Scalene is when there's nothing in common. All three of these are different lengths, which is why they're three different letters. All three angles inside are going to be different numbers as well. They will still add up to 180 on the inside though. Moving on, we're also going to talk about what kind of angle is in the triangle. There are three angles. There's acute, right, and obtuse. Acute is when it's less than 90 degrees, so any number between 1 and 89 will be considered acute. Right angle is 90 degrees exactly. Remember, there's that little square in the corner that tells you it's 90. And obtuse is anything greater than 90. It'll be anything from 91 and above. When you name a triangle, you're going to use the angle first and then the type of triangle with what they have in common. So an example would be like right scalene, obtuse scalene, acute scalene, or right isosceles, obtuse isosceles, acute isosceles. Remember, equilateral is always going to be everything's the same. So if it's an equilateral triangle, you just put equilateral. I'm going to make both of these, the first page and this, a PDF that you can download so you can have it off to the side. That way it's all completed for you. I'm going to be using these as answers for most of your homework today. You'll see it in the notes in a second. So make sure that you keep this first PDF handy because it's going to help you come up with a lot of your answers. Moving on to the actual notes for today. These first couple problems, all we're looking to do is classify the triangle by the angles and the sides. So when we're looking to do that, what we want to do is start by seeing what they have in common. If you notice there's a 72 here and a 72 here, these angles are the same. Those two little dashes mean these angles are the same. If these angles are the same, these are also the same for the length sides. Taking a look at this, we have two angles and two sides that are the same length, and none of my angles are 90 degrees or bigger. So I would start by calling this acute, because all three of these numbers are less than 90, and then two things are the same. That's going to be isosceles. This is my answer, these two words in this order, and I'm done. Number two, if you notice, I have a square here, I don't have a number. That square means 90 degrees. Because I have that 90 degrees, this is going to start off with my angle being a right angle triangle. If you notice though, all three of these numbers are different, and nothing here is telling me about the sides being the same. So because nothing is the same, this is going to be a right scalene. This one, my largest angle is 105. That's bigger than 90, so that means it's obtuse. None of these numbers are the same, which means none of these sides are the same, so this would also be scalene. And then this last one, largest one is 106, that would be obtuse again. But if you notice, 37 and 37 are the same angle. That means that this side and this side are the same length. So this would be obtuse isosceles. All we're doing is naming it based on the angle and the sides. Moving on to these problems. Here we're taking a look at figuring out a missing angle and then determining what kind of triangle it is. So this first one, if you notice, this is missing. I don't know what that is. All triangle numbers on the inside add up to 180. So what I can do is actually work backwards. Start with 180 and subtract the two numbers that I have. I'm going to subtract 65 and I'm going to subtract 47. When I do that, I'm going to get 68 as my final answer for what b is equal to. It would get a degree mark, but I'm not going to have you do that on your homework because it's just difficult to put that 0 in the corner and you don't need to put the word degrees. What we need to do now, though, is determine whether this is an acute, obtuse, or right triangle. None of these three numbers are 90 or bigger, so this would be acute. For this part of your homework, what I would probably expect is for you to just give me the 68. This next one, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't know what b is, so I'm going to start with 180 and subtract these two numbers from it. When I do that, I get 60. So if you notice, all three of my angles are 60. We talked about this on the first page. That's going to be an equilateral triangle. I would call this equilateral because that is more accurate than saying acute, because equilateral is a very specific thing happening. This next one, if you notice this angle, it's looking like it might end up being obtuse because this looks like it's opening up past what that square would be. I'm going to start by doing 180 and I'm going to subtract 53 and 27. When I do that, I get 100. That would be obtuse. This next one, exact same thing. Start with 180. I'm going to subtract my two measurements, 66 and 30. Subtraction every time. I'm going to get 84 degrees for angle B. And because that's less than 90 degrees, it would be acute. These last two problems, find the value of x. We're going to have a couple extra steps to do. It's not too bad. It's going to be a repeat of what we just did above. X is here. I know that this square means 90, so technically I have something for every corner, but I don't know what x is. This isn't an actual number right now. So what I'm going to do to solve this is I want to take this information down here, and this is hard to read. It's 13x minus 3. What I want to do is set that by itself in an equation. So I'm going to start by writing 13x minus 3 is equal to, and now I'm going to do what I did up top with that 180 in subtraction. I'm going to do 180 minus this 28 and minus this 90. The nice thing about this is all I want to do to start is subtract these three numbers. So far, I'm doing exactly what I did up top. I'm just going to have 13x minus 3 at the end. When I subtract all of this, I'm going to get 62. All I want to do now is just solve this equation. I'm going to start by adding 3 to both sides. 3x is equal to 65. I'm sorry, 13x. When I divide by 13 on both sides, I get x is equal to 5. This is not going to get a degree symbol because it's something to plug in to figure out what this final number would be. If I were to plug that number in, I would get a number that if I were to subtract these from 180, I'd be able to figure out what that missing number is. But they want us to solve x, not this angle, so I don't have to plug x back in. This one, I'm going to do the same thing. If this part's hard to read, it's 4x plus 15. I'm going to start by doing 4x plus 15 is equal to 180 minus my two other numbers, 49 and 56. Start by doing this subtraction first. I'm going to get 75 when I subtract that. Drop my 4x plus 15 down. This is plus 15, so I do the opposite, which is subtract. 4x is equal to 60. When I finish up with my dividing, I'm going to get x is equal to 15.